There are an infinite number of spells and combinations you could use to get through Oblivion Remastered, but having to open up the menu every time you want to swap a spell or drink a potion soon takes the fun out of it. The solution to this is the hotbar, or quick select menu if you prefer to call it that. 8 precious slots that offer you options at the press of a button. In this video, I'll be going through the options I use specifically on a mage character, diving into the reasoning behind it all and hopefully giving you some useful tips along the way. I want to be respectful of your time, so if you want the TLDR, mages will need a high damage option, a cheaper damage option, crowd control, mana potions, a debuff for tough enemies, and some sort of defensive shield or escape. The gist is that for spells you only need infrequently, you can open the menu for it. Keep the quick slots reserved for in-combat options. Some of the spells I use are custom ones. See my D&D spells in Oblivion video for the details, but I'll offer alternatives too. Starting off at 1, it's also worth noting something very important for keyboard users, less so for controllers, and that is the position of the keys in relation to your fingers. The keys 1 to 5 can reasonably be reached in the heat of combat, so these will need to be reserved for the main options we'll want to jump between during combat without having to frequently pause the action. So the spell I have on number 1 is a high damage single target lightning bolt. Single target because that's by far the most commonly needed, a single bear or dryad in the wilds, a bandit or even 2, a boss, hit them hard with your main spell. Make sure it's a ranged one too, so even if they are on a ledge or charging at you from a distance, you can hit them. This is your bread and butter damage spell, your main attack, and essentially the equivalent of a knight build swinging their sword. You want this to be the most damage in one instance that you can do to put enemies down quickly so you can move on to the next threat. Until you can create your own spells, you'll want to buy the most damaging spell from vendors. You unlock the next tier of destruction spell at levels 25, 50, 75 and 100 of the skill. Slot 2 is an AoE damage option. If you're running around a cave and the room is 5 mudcrabs or rats, a high damage AoE will wipe them all out in one cast if you wait for them to bunch up. Similarly, if you aggro 3 or more substantial enemies, it starts to become more valuable to swap to this and start blasting them all at once. It's less needed than solid single target damage, but it comes up enough that having it on your hotbar is useful. Slot 3 is a touch damage option. I run Shocking Grasp, a nearly max shock damage and 1 second of paralyze. Touch means 2 things, it's cheaper than ranged and the enemy is in your face. The utility of paralyze is great for responding to a high threat target, dropping them to the ground instantly. It also works as a cheap finisher, since our other 2 damage spells cost far more mana. If an enemy only has a bit of health, quickly swap to this to finish it off without needing to drink another mana potion or wait for regen. Slot 4 is my custom spell Fairy Fire, a weakness to magic and shock debuff in an area. On Expert or even Adept against boss targets, it's worth opening up with a debuff to make the follow-up spells down the enemy far more quickly with less mana spent. It's best to stick to one element so all of your other spells can benefit from this. For example, using this on a group, then following up with my slot 2 AoE option a couple of times will likely wipe the group. Shock has the fastest flight time and is the least resisted, so that's my preference. While leveling up, having weakness to magic here works too. Slot 5 is my magic potions. As an Atronach build, I've become very well acquainted with this button. Even without the Atronach sign, the best spells cost a lot, and you'll likely want to be casting them sooner rather than waiting for regen mid-combat. Alchemy is a mage's best friend, so if you aren't already, get brewing and carry a lot. For the ingredients, flax is just north of Skingrad. Steel blue Entaloma caps are in the forest around Saitata Ruin, and bog beacons are to the east of Leowyn. You'll get used to how many potions you need to drink during combat. I usually spam the button 2 or 3 times and then get back to casting. Slot 6 is my big crowd control option. I run my custom spell Entangle, which damages enemy fatigue to make them keep falling over. Experienced gamers know that CC is king. If you can disable a group, that's far more valuable than just damaging them, unless that damage would be enough to kill them. This is key to controlling a situation so you can focus on priority targets one at a time without taking multiple attacks. Think of this in the D&D term action economy. Every few seconds, each enemy makes an attack. You're usually outnumbered, so for every one of your attacks, you're taking multiple. To tip the scales in your favor, you need to reduce the number of enemy attacks. This can be done through moving, kiting enemies so they can't reach you or keep missing you, outright killing enemies, or disabling them somehow. Before you have custom spells, paralyze or calm and demoralize effects can go in this spot. Slot 7 is where I keep a protection spell, in my case shield. I use the perfect shield custom spell example from the wiki. This includes 70% normal shield, and then 5% frost, fire and shock shield. This takes us to the armor cap of 85 for a cheaper amount than just doing 85 shield, while also giving us a tiny bit of elemental protection. Remember that armor rating is directly equivalent to percentage of damage reduced. I start from 0 as I like using enchanted robes and clothing instead of armor to keep spell effectiveness at 100 and not be slowed down, as well as for the flavor of being a mage. And with 85 being the hard limit, this spell takes it from 0 all the way to the cap of 85. Duration is maxed out too, because otherwise it's annoying to have to keep applying it. Having it on the hotbar means you can swap to it and cast it as you approach enemies or right after you enter a dungeon. In larger dungeons it'll run out, but that's why having it on the hotbar to reapply in each area is a good idea. Slot 8 is where I keep my mobility or escape spell. I use Windwalk, which is a custom spell that does a lot of things packed into one. Invisibility, in case I need to drop aggro and escape to survive, or get past some enemies undetected. Fortify Athletics, Speed, and Acrobatics to help get around quickly, even if just travelling on foot to the nearby quest marker. Feather to further help with mobility, or temporarily free yourself from being over-encumbered, which then lets you fast travel. And Light, mostly just for the aesthetic. I do usually open the menu to pop the longest light spell I have at the start of a dungeon. This ties nicely into one of my final points, which is how valuable it is to merge useful spell effects. With such limited quick slots, it's so handy for them to each pull double duty. A Shocking Grasp spell, for example, is what I swap to when I need to buy some space with its Paralyze, but also what I swap to if someone has a tiny bit of health left. If I did have to swap a few of these quick slot options out, I'd be tempted to drop the slot 2 AoE spell. It's a prime slot that might be better served as a panic button for defense or healing. You could also swap the shield or windwalk spell with a big self-heal, a bow, or a staff. What do you keep in your quick slots? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit the subscribe button. I'm a small channel trying to get off the ground, so if you like what you see, your views and subscriptions matter a huge deal to me. See you on the next one.